very much, Mr Chair. Mr Chair, I want to speak about the combined effects of the provisions in Part 1. But before I do that, I want to note that we are talking about people. When we talk about legislation about employment relations, we are talking about people. It is not like any other contract. It is not around buying and selling a product. This is people we are talking about. So when we talk about the 90 days and making it easier, so-called, to employ people, we are also saying that we are going to make it very easy to sack people. And I think that's important. And Caritas, the Catholic Social Justice organisation, they noted in their submission that Catholic social teaching does not recognise employment contracts as being equivalent to other kinds of business contracts, such as the purchase of goods or services. We recognise that these working relationships take place in a wider environment of respect for human rights. And I think that's a very powerful statement. This is legislation called the Employment Relations Act. It's about relationships. And we are changing the balance. With this legislation, we are changing the balance and we are taking away rights from people in the workplace. So I want to put that on record, and I want to talk about the combined effect. Now, a couple of speakers across the House have talked about good old New Zealand values. Well, I have to say probably one of the strongest New Zealand values is a commitment to fairness, that we like to think we are a country that believes in a fair go and fairness for all people. Much of our legislation has been groundbreaking in actually giving rights to people and making sure that people have an opportunity to be engaged and to participate. Now, the CTU commissioned some research around the question of the 90-day legislation. And the survey question was a straight question. They said, do you think that all employees should have the right to appeal if they think they have been unfairly dismissed, even if their dismissal was during the first 90 days of their employment? Very straight question. I just want to get on record the response to that question. 80% of respondents said yes, that employees should have the right to appeal if they think they've been unfairly dismissed, including in the first 90 days. That's 80%. No, 18% unsure too. So one of our key values as New Zealanders is fairness, and New Zealanders believe it is fair to have a right to challenge an unfair dismissal, even in the first 90 days. Now, the effect of the provisions in Part 1 of the Employment Relations Amendment will be to impact on those already most vulnerable in our society and in our labour market, those with less power. If we come down to tin tax, it'll be those that have less bargaining power. And in fact, the whole point in the Employment Relations Act, there are a number of key objects that are outlined, and one of them specifically acknowledges that there is an inherent inequality of power in employment relations. That's a fundamental object of our employment relations legislation. This amendment bill flies in the face of a fundamental object of the main bill, of the main act. And I think that it shows a real difference between both sides of the House, because in this side of the House, we know that that is the reality of the labour market. On that side of the House, people think that it is a level playing field, that everybody has the same bargaining power. Well, look, you tell that to a new migrant worker that they've got the same bargaining power as others. You tell that to a young person going into their first job. You tell that to a mother who's going back to work having been out of the paid workforce for a while. You tell them that they've got the same bargaining power as, say, the IT specialist or somebody of that nature who has had an unbroken work record over many years. There are differences in bargaining power, and those that will be most affected by the changes are those who are already most vulnerable. And I think that it's very interesting that across the House people seem to think that a take-it-or-leave-it employment offer is fair. I don't think lots of other people think that. I don't think the people in Mana, for example, probably don't think a take-it-or-leave-it employment offer is fair. If you don't have a job and you may be getting a benefit or you may not, depending on your circumstances, you are really... Mr Chair.
I call the Honourable Tau Henare.